Welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are diving into all the acronyms you need to know for the CompTIA Network Plus certification. From understanding protocols like TCP/IP to grasping terms like VLANs and NAT, we have got you covered with simple, clear explanations to make your learning journey a breeze. So whether you are just starting your Network Plus prep or looking to solidify your knowledge, this video will help you decode the jargon and ace the exam. Stay tuned and let's get started.
Access control list. ACL access control list is a list of rules used to control network traffic, defining which users or systems are allowed or denied access to resources within a network. ACLs are commonly used in routers, firewalls, and other network devices to filter traffic based on IP addresses, ports, or protocols. For example, a router might use an ACL to restrict access to a sensitive server by only allowing certain IP addresses to communicate with it while blocking others. So, in this example, we can see in this diagram that if we want that this user do not access this FTP server, we can configure an ACL here over this router, and in this way we can block this user from accessing this FTP server. authentication header. authentication header protocol is part of the IPsec suite designed to provide data integrity, authentication, and anti-replay protection for IP packets. ensures that the data has not been tampered with during transmission and verifies the identity of the sender. So remember, the provides integrity, authentication, and anti-replay, but does not provide the functionality of encryption. So for encryption, we use another protocol inside the IPsec suite known as ESP, Encapsulation Security Payload or Protocol. For example, in a VPN setup using IPsec, can be used to authenticate the data sent between two devices, ensuring that the packets have not been tampered with while traveling over the network. AP, that is access point. So AP access point is a device that allows wireless devices to connect to a wired network using Wi-Fi or other wireless standards. It serves as a central hub for communication between wireless devices, for example, laptops or smartphones, and the network, extending the network's range and providing wireless connectivity. For example, a Wi-Fi router in a home network acts as an access point, enabling devices like smartphones, laptops, and smart TVs to connect wirelessly to the internet. So, this is self-explanatory. We are talking about this wireless Wi-Fi device known as access point. API Application Programming Interface. So, API Application Programming Interface is a set of rules and protocols that allows different software applications to communicate with each other. It defines the methods and data formats that programs can use to request and exchange information. For example, payment system like PayPal provide APIs that allow websites to process transactions securely without needing to handle payment information directly. APIPA or APIPA, known as Automatic Private Internet Protocol Addressing. So, APIPA is a feature in operating system that automatically assigns a private IP address from the range 169.254.0.1 to 169.255.254 when a device cannot obtain an IP address from a DHCP server. This allows limited local network communication but no internet access. For example, a laptop connected to a network without a functioning DHCP server might receive an APIPA address such as 169.254.1.45, allowing it to communicate with other devices on the same subnet using APIPA. So you must have seen this IP address when your IP setting are set to auto and your network cannot assign or your DHCP cannot assign you an automatic IP address, then your device gets the APIPA IP address, and if there are similar devices that are also unable to get the IP address from the DHCP server, they will also get the APIPA IP address in the same subnet, and the devices will be able to communicate over this network. ARP or ARP, that is Address Resolution Protocol. So ARP, Address Resolution Protocol, is a network protocol used to map a device's IP address to its physical MAC address, that is Media Access Control Address, on a local network. It enables devices to communicate within a local area network, that is LAN, by translating IP address into MAC addresses, which are required for proper data transmission. For example, if a device tries to communicate with IP address 192.168.1.10 but does not know the corresponding MAC address, it sends an ARP request asking who has 192.168.1.10. The device with that IP address will respond with its MAC address. So in short, ARP is used to translate the MAC IP address to the MAC address. When a device wants to send a packet to a device and knows the destination device IP address but does not know the MAC address, then the device sends an ARP request and the destination device responds to the ARP request with its MAC address, and so the sender thus receives the MAC address along with the IP address that it already knows and forwards the packet. So remember that MAC address is required over LAN when the actual data packet has to be transferred to the next device. AUP, that is Acceptable Use Policy. So AUP, Acceptable Use Policy, is a set of rules and guidelines created by an organization to define acceptable and unacceptable behavior when using its network devices or online services. For example, an organization's AUP or Acceptable Use Policy might prohibit employees from using company email for personal purposes, downloading unauthorized software, or accessing inappropriate websites inside the company premises. BGP, that is Border Gateway Protocol. So BGP is the protocol used to exchange routing information between different networks on the internet, enabling data to find the best path between autonomous systems. It is essential for routing traffic efficiently across large and complex networks. For example, an internet service provider ISP uses BGP to share routing information with another ISP, ensuring users can access websites hosted on different networks worldwide. So remember, BGP is used between different autonomous systems. An autonomous system is basically you can say an administrative control or boundary where an individual organization or ISP has control over all the routers and network. Similarly, another ISP has another autonomous system, and BGP is used to route the traffic between these different autonomous systems or between different ISPs. BNC, that is Bayonet Neil Conkelman. So BNC is a type of connector used for coaxial cables commonly seen in radio, video, and networking applications for secure and reliable connections. It features a bayonet-style locking mechanism for quick and stable attachment. For example, a BNC connector is used to connect a CCTV camera to a DVR system for video surveillance. So we are talking about this connector that is known as BNC. BSSID, Basic Service Set Identifier. BSSID is the unique MAC address of a specific wireless access point within a Wi-Fi network, distinguishing it from others in the same area. It is tied to the hardware of the access point. For example, when connecting to a Wi-Fi network, your device might see multiple access points with the same network name, that is SSID. Each access point is uniquely identified by its BSSID, such as this MAC address. So when there is an extended set identifier, that is when there is a single Wi-Fi network, but it is extended using multiple access points, then the individual access points are identified using the BSS ID that is basically tied with the access point MAC address. BYOD, that is bring your own device. BYOD refers to a policy allowing employees or students to use their personal devices such as laptops, smartphones or tablets for work or academic purposes within an organization's network. It enhances flexibility but requires proper security measures. For example, a company with a BYOD policy allows employees to access work emails and internal applications on their personal smartphones provided they adhere to security protocols like using a VPN. CAM, that is Content Addressable Memory. So CAM is a specialized type of memory used in networking devices like switches to search for data based on its content rather than its address. This enables rapid lookup such as matching MAC addresses in a switch's MAC address table. For example, a network switch uses CAM to quickly determine the port associated with a MAC address, allowing it to forward data packets to the correct destination efficiently. CDN, that is Content Delivery Network. So a CDN is a network of servers distributed globally to deliver web content such as images, videos, and web pages more quickly and reliably to users based on their geographic location. It reduces latency and improves user experience. For example, a streaming platform like Netflix uses a CDN to store copies of its videos on servers worldwide, ensuring users can stream content without buffering regardless of their location. So what does this mean? That let's suppose, as we studied the example of the Netflix, if this is the Netflix data center where all its videos are stored, so instead of streaming the videos from this same location, instead the copies of these videos are stored across the globe on edge server. So for example, when this user wants to watch a specific video, he or she does not need to go all the way to the server in another country. Rather than the content from the nearest server is presented to the user. So this way, this CDN increases the efficiency and reduces the latency. CDP, that is Cisco Discovery Protocol. So CDP is a proprietary network protocol developed by Cisco that allows devices to share information about themselves such as device type, IP address, and capabilities with directly connected Cisco devices. It helps with network mapping and troubleshooting. For example, a network administrator uses CDP to identify a Cisco switch connected to a router, displaying details such as the switch's host name, model, and the port being used. So the CDP is basically the Cisco proprietary or Cisco Discovery Protocol. An alternative of CDP that is used by other third-party devices and switches is the LLDP, that is Link Layer Discovery Protocol, and both these protocols are basically used to discover the neighboring devices. So that if, let's suppose if you are sitting on this switch and you run this command, the LLDP or CDP, then you will be presented with the devices that are directly connected. So in this way you can map the network. CIA, that is confidentiality, integrity and availability. So CIA, confidentiality, integrity, availability is a foundational model in cybersecurity that guides the protection of information. It focuses on ensuring that data is secure from unauthorized access, remains accurate and altered, and is available when needed. Confidentiality ensures that information is only accessible to those who are authorized to view it. For example, encrypting sensitive data so that only authorized users can read it. So, to ensure confidentiality, we use encryption. Integrity ensures that the information is accurate and has not been tampered with, and using hash function, for example, using hash function to verify a file has not been modified. So, hashing or hash functions are primarily used for data integrity. And similar availability ensures that information is accessible and usable when needed. For example, implementing redundancy and backup system to ensure data is accessible even during system failure. So for availability, we use redundant system or multiple systems so that when one system fails, a backup system is available and user experiences no downtime or degradation of services. CIDR, that is classless interdomain routing. So CIDR is a method for allocating IP addresses and routing them efficiently by using variable length subnet mask, that is VLSM. It replaces the older class-based system to optimize the use of IP address space. For example, instead of allocating a full class C block, that is 192.168.1.0/24, CIDR can define a smaller subnet like 192.168.1.0/28, which provides 16 IP addresses, reducing waste. CLI, that is command line interface. So CLI is a text-based interface that allows users to interact with an operating system or software by typing commands directly, providing precise control over tasks and configuration. A network administrator uses a CLI to configure a router by typing commands like show IP route to view the wrapping table. So the alternative of the CLI is GUI. In GUI, we use the application or operating system with the help of icons and clicks, while in the CLI, we do the same things using the command. For example, here we can see that ls command shows us the files or the directories that are available in our current directory, while same can also be done through the GUI.
CNAME, that is canonical name. So CNAME is a type of DNS record that maps an alias domain name to the canonical true domain name. It allows multiple domain names to point to the same IP address or server. For example, a CNAME record could be used to make www.example.com an alias for example.com so that both domains lead to the same website, and same concept has been shown here. For example, the A record translates the domain name to IP address, and the canonical name basically leads to the same domain name. For example, this can be alias for this, and this one can be alias for this. CPU, that is central processing unit. So the CPU is the primary component of a computer that performs most of the processing inside the system. It executes instructions from programs and handles tasks such as calculations, logic operations, and controlling other hardware. For example, in a laptop, the CPU processes commands like opening a document, running applications, and interacting with peripherals. For example, the most popular CPUs and user PCs or laptop CPUs are the Intel CPUs. CRC, that is cyclical redundancy check. So CRC, cyclic redundancy check, is an error detecting code used to ensure the integrity of data during transmission or storage. It involves generating a checksum from the data, which is then transmitted along with the data. The receiver recalculates the CRC value and compares it to the transmitted checksum to detect errors. For example, in network transmissions, when sending files over the internet, a CRC value is calculated for the file and sent along the data. The recipient computes the CRC of the received data and compares it to the original value to check for the corruption during transmission. DAC, that is discretionary access control. So this DAC basically is the not the discretionary access control, rather than this is the direct attached cable. Here we are talking about the direct attached cable DAC. DAC also stands for discretionary access control. So the DAC is a type of cabling used for high-speed data transfer between network devices, typically in data centers. It consists of copper cables with built-in connectors for direct connection without needing additional transceiver. For example, a DAC cable might be used to connect a switch to a server in a data center, offering a cost-effective and low-latency connections for short distance communication, often in the ranges of up to 7 meters. So these type of cable where we have the already attached transceiver at both ends, and it is basically used inside the equipment room and inside the server room, or you can also say the data center, for connecting the switches together or for connecting the server to the switch directly. So since this is used inside the data center, so it has a maximum length of up to 7 meters. DAS is direct attached storage. So DAS is a storage system directly connected to a computer or server without a network, providing fast data access. It typically includes devices like hard drive or SSD attached via interfaces like USB, SATA, or SAS. For example, an external hard drive connected directly to a computer via USB is a form of DAS, providing local storage for files without requiring network access. So, for example, this is the server, and we have directly connected the storage device to this server via an interface, and this interface might be USB, SATA, or SAS. And when the storage is provided through a network, then it can be called as the SAN, that is storage area network, and this then involves switches and connection, and it is a network storage that is then given to multiple servers. Well, in the DAS is typically given to only a single server since it is directly connected to the server interface. DCI, that is data center interconnect. So DCI refers to the technology and infrastructure that connects multiple data centers, enabling them to share data, resources, and applications seamlessly. It facilitates high-speed communications and ensures business continuity by providing redundancy and load balancing. Example, a company with data centers in different geographic locations might use the DCI to link them, real-time data replication and backup across the centers to improve disaster recovery. For example, if you have or a customer have two data centers at two different geographic locations, that may be two different cities. The interconnect basically provides connectivity between them and real-time data replications so that if there is a disaster at one data center, all the real-time data is available at the backup data center and users can be shifted to the secondary data centers and so that services are uninterrupted. DDoS, that is distributed denial of service. So DDoS, distributed denial of service, is a cyber attack in which multiple compromised systems, often part of a botnet, are used to flood a target such as a website or a server with a massive amount of traffic, overwhelming its resources and making it unavailable to legitimate users. For example, during a DDoS attack, a website might become slow or completely inaccessible due to an overwhelming number of requests from thousands or millions of infected devices across the globe. For instance, an online retailer might experience a DDoS attack during a major sale, causing their website to crash and preventing customers from making purchases. So the main difference between a DOS, that is distributed denial of service, and distributed denial of service, that during DDoS, bots are involved, which means that multiple compromised computers are used to launch an attack against a target. DHCP, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. So DHCP, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, is a network management protocol used to automatically assign IP addresses and other network configuration settings such as subnet, default, gateway, and DNS server to devices on a network. This eliminates the need for network administrators to manually assign IP addresses to every device. For example, when a device like a laptop or smartphone connects to a network, the DHCP server automatically assigns it an IP address from a defined pool of available addresses. This makes the process of joining a network seamless and efficient. So quiz time, guys. We studied a while ago that when DHCP server is not available inside the LAN or inside the network, the client PCs or laptops are automatically assigned another IP address, and that is known as APIPA. And this IP address was in the range of 169.254. DLP, that is data loss prevention. So DLP, data loss prevention, is a set of technologies, policies, and practices designed to prevent sensitive data from being accessed, leaked, or misused by unauthorized users or systems. It focuses on monitoring and controlling data in use, that is active data, in motion, that is data being transferred, and at rest, that is data stored, to ensure that confidential information is not advertently or maliciously exposed. For example, in a company, DLP software can prevent employees from copying sensitive documents to external USB drives or uploading them to unauthorized cloud storage services, thus reducing the risk of data breaches. So basically, there are three steps during initial configuration of DLP. First, all the data assets or data types are discovered when you configure the DLP. Then these assets or data are continuously monitored. And when unauthorized access or leak or exfiltration is detected, they are actively prevented. And again, there are multiple types of DLPs. They can be endpoint DLP or network DLP. The endpoint DLP basically prevents the data leakage on the endpoints such as PCs and laptops, while the network DLP is monitoring the network of the organization and monitor any type of sensitive data exfiltration. DNS, that is domain name system. So DNS domain name system is a system that translates human readable domain names like www. For example, google.com into machine readable IP addresses like this one 192.168.1.1. Of course, this would not be an IP address of a publicly accessible domain name. It's a private IP address, but just for the sake of example, that computers use to identify each other on a network. It essentially, so remember that computer talks with each other using the IP addresses. It essentially acts as the phone book of the internet, enabling users to access websites using easy to remember domain names instead of numerical IP addresses. For example, when you type www.google.com into your browser, a DNS server resolves the domain name to corresponding IP address, for example, 142.250.190.78, allowing your browser to connect to Google's web server. So this is how it works. So the client sends the domain name to the DNS server, and the DNS server responds back with the corresponding IP address. DNS Sack, that is domain name system security extensions. So DNS Sack is a set of extensions to DNS that add security to prevent certain types of attacks, such as cache poisoning or man-in-the-middle attacks, by digitally signing DNS record. It ensures the integrity and authenticity of DNS data. For example, when you visit a website, DNSSEC helps verify that the IP address returned by the DNS query is legitimate and has not been tampered with, protecting against DNS spoofing. DOH or DNS or HTTPS. So these we are talking about now the DNS security, and these are different mechanisms. The first one is DOH or DNS or HTTPS. DOH or DOH is a protocol that encrypts DNS queries and responses using HTTPS, improving privacy and security by preventing third parties from intercepting or tampering with DNS traffic. For example, when you access a website, DOH ensures that the DNS query, which translates the domain name into an IP address, is sent over an encrypted HTTPS connection, protecting it from eavesdropping or manipulation. So, for example, if it is simple DNS and the DNS or HTTPS is not enabled, then when you intercept the DNS traffic, you will be able to see the actual data, for example, the domain name that is being sent over the network. Well, if you enable the DNS or HTTPS and then you intercept the traffic, then you won't be able to make sense of the data because it is encrypted. DOS, denial of service. So DOS is an attack aimed at making a network, service, or website unavailable by overwhelming it with a flood of traffic, causing it to crash or become slow and responsive. So remember that to make a server or a website unresponsive using DOS, it should not be a flood of traffic. For example, you people must have heard of as a ping of death. You can simply craft a one packet, a single ping, and crash the server or the application. When we talk about the flood of traffic overwhelming it, then we are actually talking about the DDoS, which we just talked about a while ago. For example, a DOS attack might involve sending an excessive number of requests to a web server, causing it to overload and preventing legitimate user from accessing the site. So again, this more suits with the DDoS attack, while DOS is simply the denial of service, and it has other techniques such as ping of death. Another one comes to mind as the teardrop, and so on. DOT, that is DNS or TLS against the DNS security. So DOT is a protocol that encrypts DNS queries and responses using TLS, that is transport layer security, providing privacy and security by preventing unauthorized interception or manipulation of DNS traffic. When you perform a DNS lookup, DOT ensures that every query is securely transmitted over TLS, making it harder for attackers to spy on or tamper with your DNS request. For example, if you are using DOT or DNS traffic over TLS, then if the hacker wants to intercept the traffic, he or she won't be able to make any sense of this traffic because it is going through the tunnel and encrypted. DR, that is disaster recovery. So DR refers to the strategies and processes used to recover and protect an organization's IT infrastructure, data, and operation in the event of a disaster, such as a system failure, natural disaster, or cyber attack. For example, a company implements a disaster recovery plan that includes regular backups, off-site storage, and failover server to quickly restore operations if its primary data center is compromised. EAPOL or EPOL is Extensible Authentication Protocol over LAN. So EPOL is a network protocol used in wired as well as in wireless network to provide authentication between a client and a network device like a switch or access point during the network access process. It is commonly used in conjunction with 802.1x to enforce post-based network access control. For example, when a laptop connects to a Wi-Fi network, EPOL facilitates the exchange of authentication messages between the laptop and the access point, ensuring only authorized users can access the network. So, the standard that this works on is 802.1x, and it is basically a port-based security. What we mean by port-based, that when a client wants to connect to the switch or a port, then the client is authenticated from an authentication server. This server may be a radius server, a TechX server, etc. And the name given to these different devices or the client device is known as supplicant. The switch that intermediates between the client and the authentication server is the authenticator. And the end server that has the authentication data of the clients is the authentication server. EIGRP, that is Enhanced Interior Gateway Routing Protocol. So EIGRP is a dynamic routing protocol developed by Cisco that combines the advantages of both link state and distance vector protocol. It is used to exchange routing information within a single autonomous system and allows for faster convergence and better scalability. For example, a company uses EIGRP to ensure routers in different locations can dynamically share routing information, adjusting routes efficiently in case of network changes like a failed link or added route. So if you guys remember, we already studied another protocol that is used to route traffic between different autonomous systems, and that protocol was known as BGP. So difference here is that the EIGRP is an interior gateway protocol, that is, it is used within the same autonomous system. And when we need to exchange the routing information between these autonomous systems, we need or we can use the BGP routing protocol. EOL, that is end of life. So EOL refers to the point at which a product or the service is no longer supported or manufactured by the vendor. Once a product reaches its EOL, it no longer receives updates, patches, or customer support. For example, a software application that has reached its EOL will no longer receive security patches, leaving users vulnerable to potential exploits unless they upgrade to a newer version. EOS, end of support. EOS refers to the point at which a product, service, or software version no longer receives official support, including updates, patches, or technical assistance from the vendor. After EOS, users are expected to transition to newer versions or alternatives. For example, when an operating system reaches EOS, users will no longer receive security patches or technical support from the vendor, potentially exposing the system to security risk unless it is upgraded or replaced. ESP, that is encapsulated security payload. So that is the protocol that we were talking about along the AH, that is authentication header. We will explain it in a while. So ESP, encapsulating security payload, is a protocol used in IPsec, that is Internet Protocol Security, to provide confidentiality, authentication, and integrity for data transmitted over a network. For example, ESP is commonly used in conjunction with IPsec to secure connections over the internet, such as site-to-site VPNs or remote access VPNs. So remember that the AH, or authentication header, does not provide the confidentiality, while ESP provides the confidentiality as well as authentication and integrity. ESSID, that is Extended Service Set Identifier. So the ESSID is the name of a Wi-Fi network used to identify a specific wireless network within the coverage area of an access point or a set of access points. It is broadcasted to allow devices to find and connect to the network. SSID is used for the single access point, or BSS, while ESSID refers to the same SSID used across multiple APs in an extended network. So remember, we already studied the BSS, or the BSSID, which is for the single AP, which represent the MAC address of a single AP. While the ESSID is the SSID of the extended Wi-Fi network that may contain multiple APs. And within ESS, we may have multiple BSS. For example, the Wi-Fi network home network 1 to 3 is an ESSID that users can see and connect to when they search for available networks on their devices. EULA, that is End User License Agreement. So an EULA is a legal contract between the software developer or publisher and the user, outlining the terms and conditions for using the software. It typically includes restrictions on usage, distribution, and the rights of the software developer. For example, when installing a software application, users are often required to agree to the EULA, for example, this one, which may specify whether the software can be used on multiple devices or if it can be modified or redistributed. FC, that is Fibre Channel. The FC, or Fibre Channel, is a high-speed networking technology used to connect and transfer data between server, storage devices, and other IT infrastructure in data centers. It provides reliable, low-latency communication for storage area network, or SANs, supporting both block-level data storage and retrieval. For example, in a data center, Fibre Channel is used to connect a server to the storage array, allowing for fast and efficient data transfers with minimal delay, essential for applications requiring higher performance and large data volume. So this is how the FC protocol works. So we have these storage, you can say, controllers, and these are basically connected to the FC switches. And through these FC switches, we can give access to the storage to the servers. And the protocol that is used across this network is known as FC Fibre Channel. And this network is known as SAN, or Storage Area Network. FHRP, that is First Hop Redundancy Protocol. So FHRP is a set of protocol used. So FHRP is a set of protocol used in networking to ensure that if the primary gateway or router fails, there is a backup router that can take over, providing seamless connectivity. This improves network reliability and uptime by eliminating single points of failure for the default gateway. For example, in a network using HSRP, Hot Standby Router Protocol, two routers are configured with one virtual IP address as the default gateway. If the primary router fails, the secondary router takes over, ensuring that no disruption in network access occurs. So I hope this is understandable. So we have these two routers, and they are configured in high availability, means that one router is active at a time, the other is standby. And there is a virtual router or a virtual gateway configured. So at the client side, we do not give the default gateway as the physical IP addresses of the router. Instead, we configure the virtual IP address as the default gateway. So if at any particular time the data travels through the active router, and if the active router fails, the traffic is seamlessly routed to the secondary standby router, which now acts as the primary router. So this way there is a seamless diversion of traffic without any interruption of traffic at the user side, or without changing any IP setting or gateway, etc. FTPS, that is Secured File Transfer Protocol, or File Transfer Protocol Secure. So FTPS, File Transfer Protocol Secure, is an extension of the standard FTP file transfer protocol that adds support for encryption and secure connections. FTP uses SSL/TLS, that is Secure Socket Layer or Transport Layer security, to encrypt data during transfer, ensuring that both the control and data channels are secure. So what does this mean? The FCP basically makes two connections between the clients and the server. One is the control connection and the other is data channel. Through control channel, the commands are sent from the client and from the server to each other, while through the data channel, the actual data is transferred. A company, for example, a company using FTPS might transfer financial records or confidential client data over the internet. FTPS ensures that the data is encrypted during transfer, preventing interception or tampering by unauthorized parties. GDPR, that is General Data Protection Regulation. So GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, is a comprehensive data privacy and protection law enacted by the European Union to strengthen and unify data protection for all individuals within the EU and the European Union Economic Area. For example, if an online retailer collects personal information such as email addresses and shipping addresses from EU residents, they must ensure that they comply with GDPR by securing the data, obtaining consent for its use, and allowing customers to exercise their data rights. GRE, that is Generic Routing Encapsulation. So GRE, Generic Routing Encapsulation, is a tunneling protocol used to encapsulate a wide variety of network layer protocols into point-to-point connection. It allows the transportation of data packets from one network or another network by creating a virtual tunnel between two endpoints. For example, site-to-site VPN in a company with offices in different locations, GRE tunnels can be used to connect the offices over the internet, allowing secure communication as if they were directly connected by a physical link. While GRE does not encrypt the data itself, it can be paired with IPsec to ensure the confidentiality of the traffic between the two locations. GUI, that is graphical user interface. So GUI, graphical user interface, is a type of user interface that allows the user to interact with electronic devices using visual elements such as icons, buttons, windows, and menus rather than text-based commands, which is known as CLI. So the alternative of or the opposite of GUI is CLI. It makes systems more accessible to non-technical users by providing a visual representation of tasks. For example, a web browser like Google Chrome uses a GUI to allow users to navigate the internet through clickable buttons, address bars, and tabs instead of using a command line interface. HTTP, that is Hypertext Transfer Protocol. So HTTP Hypertext Transfer Protocol is a protocol used for transferring data between a web browser and a web server. It facilitates the loading of web pages by sending requests and receiving response in plain text. For example, when you enter http://example.com in a browser, an HTTP request is sent to the server, which responds with the web page's content. So quiz time, which port is used by the HTTP? At the server side, the HTTP uses port 80. By default, it uses port 80. And the secure alternative of HTTP is HTTPS. So HTTP is no longer used online or over the internet since it is insecure. Data sent over the internet or over the network is in plain text, and it is no longer actively being used. So the alternative of HTTP is HTTPS, that is Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. HTTPS Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure is an extension of HTTP that uses encryption to secure data transmitted between a web browser and a website. It ensures that data sent over the internet is encrypted using SSL/TLS protocols, providing privacy, integrity, and authentication. HTTPS is commonly used for secure online transactions and protecting sensitive information. For example, when accessing a banking website, for example, HTTPS www.examplebank.com, HTTPS ensures that any data entered, such as login credentials or account details, is encrypted and secure from potential interception by malicious third parties. IaaS, that is Infrastructure as a Service. IaaS, Infrastructure as a Service, is a cloud computing model that provides virtualized computing resources over the internet, such as virtual machines, storage, and networking without the need for on-premises hardware. For example, Amazon Web Services AWS offers IaaS, allowing businesses to rent virtual servers and storage on demand. IAC, that is Infrastructure as Code. IAC, Infrastructure as Code, is a practice in cloud computing where infrastructure is managed and provisioned using code rather than manual processes. It allows developers and operations teams to automate and version control infrastructure setups. For example, using Terraform or AWS Cloud Formation, a company can define and deploy server configuration, networks, and databases automatically by writing code, ensuring consistent and repeatable infrastructure deployments. IAM, that is Identity and Access Management. IAM, Identity and Access Management, is a framework that manages the identities of users and devices within an organization and controls their access to resources, ensuring that only authorized entities can access specific data or systems. For example, AWS IAM allows administrators to create and manage users and permissions, ensuring that employees have access only to the resources they need to perform their job functions. ICMP, that is Internet Control Message Protocol. ICMP, Internet Control Message Protocol, is a network protocol used to send error messages and operational information about network communication. It helps diagnose network issues and manage data flow. For example, Ping uses ICMP to send echo requests and receive echo replies to test if a device is reachable over the network. So Ping is a very popular utility that is being used by everyone in IT, and it is a simple utility where you write the IP address of the device that you want to ping. In this way, you send an ICMP request, and if the device is reachable, it sends ICMP response. ICS, that industrial control system. So ICS, industrial control system, refers to systems used to monitor and control industrial processes such as manufacturing, energy production, and water treatment. ICS typically includes hardware and software to automate and optimize operations. For example, SCADA, that is supervisory control and data acquisition system, are a type of ICS used to monitor and control large-scale industrial processes like electrical grids or oil pipelines. IDF, that is intermediate distribution frame. IDF, or intermediate distribution frame, is a type of equipment used in telecommunication and networking to connect and organize cables between the main distribution frame, that is MDF, and various endpoints or devices within a building or campus. For example, in a large office building, an IDF might be located on each floor where it houses switches and patch panels to distribute network connection from the main server room. IDS, that is intrusion detection system. So IDS, intrusion detection system, is a security system that monitors network or system activities for malicious activity or policy violation. It alerts administrators when suspicious activities are detected. Remember, it only alerts, it does not prevent or do any else action. It only logs and alerts, as opposed to IPS, which also prevents. For example, a network IDS monitors traffic for unusual patterns such as port scanning or denial of service attacks. IKE, that is Internet Key Exchange. So IKE, Internet Key Exchange, is a protocol used in VPNs, that is virtual private network, to establish a secure and authenticated communication channel between two devices. It negotiates the cryptographic parameters to be used in the communication and handles the exchange of encryption keys. For example, IKE version 2 is a more secure and efficient version of IKE, often used in IPsec VPNs to provide encryption and secure key exchange between a client and a server. IoT, that is Internet of Things. IoT, or Internet of Things, refers to the network of physical devices that are embedded with sensors, softwares, and other technologies, allowing them to connect and exchange data over the internet. For example, smart thermostats like the Nest can be controlled remotely via a smartphone app, adjusting the temperature in a home based on user preferences and behavior. IIoT, that is Industrial Internet of Things. So IIoT, Industrial Internet of Things, refers to the network of physical devices, machinery, sensors, and equipment used in industrial sectors such as manufacturing, energy, and logistics that are connected to the internet. IIoT allows these devices to collect, exchange, and analyze data to optimize operations, improve efficiency, and enhance decision making in industrial processes. For example, in a smart factory, IIoT devices like sensors on machines can monitor temperature, pressure, and performance in real time, sending this data to a central system where it can be analyzed to predict maintenance needs or optimize production schedules. IP Internet Protocol. The IP Internet Protocol is a set of rules that govern how data is transmitted over a network. It is responsible for addressing and routing packets of data to their destination. For example, IP version 4 uses a 32-bit address format, for example 192.168.1.1, for identifying devices on a network. IPS, that is Intrusion Prevention System. The IPS Intrusion Prevention System is a security solution that actively monitors network or system traffic for malicious activity and takes action to block or prevent attacks in real time. So that's the difference between the IPS and IDS. IDS only monitors and alerts or logs when it detects an attack, while the IPS actively takes action and blocks or prevents attacks. Example, an IPS can automatically block traffic from an IP address known to be associated with a DDoS attack, that is distributed denial of service attack. IPsec, that is Internet Protocol Security. So IPsec, Internet Protocol Security, is a suite of protocols used to secure Internet communications by authenticating and encrypting each IP packet in a communication session. It is commonly used in VPNs, that is virtual private networks, to ensure data privacy and integrity. For example, IPsec can be used to create a secure site-to-site VPN, encrypting data traffic between two offices over the internet. So as we already studied, the IPsec uses two main protocols, that is AH authentication header and ESP encapsulated security payload. AH is mainly used for authentication and integrity, while ESP also provides confidentiality as well as authentication and integrity. And the SS stands for basically Security Association. When VPN is made and tunnel is found between the end devices, their information, including the encryption protocols, as well as their IP addresses, the endpoint IP addresses, are all recorded inside SA, that is Security Associations. IS-IS, that is Intermediate System to Intermediate System. So IS-IS, Intermediate System to Intermediate System, is a routing protocol used to facilitate communication between network devices, that is routers, in an autonomous system. It is an interior gateway protocol that operates within a single organization or domain, utilizing link state routing to build a map of the network and determine the most efficient path for data transmission. For example, IS-IS is often used in large-scale service provider network for efficient routing, especially in scenarios where there is a need for robust, scalable routing within an organization infrastructure, such as in telecom networks or large enterprise networks. LSAP, that is Link Aggregation Control Protocol. So LSAP, Link Aggregation Control Protocol, is a networking protocol used to combine multiple physical network links into a single logical link known as a link aggregation or port channel. This increases bandwidth and provides redundancy, improving the overall network performance and fault tolerance. LSCP is a part of the IEEE 802.1ax standard. For example, if two switches are connected by two physical links, LSCP can be used to bundle them into a single logical link. This results in better throughput and ensures that if one link fails, the other can still carry the traffic, preventing network downtime. So this is how it works. Suppose you have two switches connected over multiple physical links. In this case, we are seeing that we have four 1 gigabit links. So you can combine these links into a single logical links through LSCP, and this gives us two advantages. First, the overall bandwidth of this logical link will be the combined bandwidth of all the individual links, that is 4G, since we have four 1G links. And secondly, that if any of these or two or even three links fails, we will still be able to communicate over the remaining active links. So this gives us higher bandwidth as well as high availability benefits. LAN, that is local area network. So LAN or local area network is a network that connects computers and devices within a limited geographical area such as home, office, or campus. It allows devices to share resources like files, printers, and internet connections. For example, in an office, a LAN might be used to connect all computers, printers, and servers to share files and access the internet through a central router. So the LAN is typically used in almost all of the organizations. It is the local network within that building or organization. Mainly, this network is connected through Cat6 or Cat7 cables, and for central devices, we use switches. The switches may be layer 2 or layer 3. LC, that is Lucent connector. So LC Lucent connector is a type of optical fiber connector used for higher density connections commonly found in data center and telecom networks. LC connectors are small form factor connectors that are widely used for fiber optic cables, especially in environments where space is limited. They are often used in applications requiring high speed data transmission, such as Ethernet, Fibre Channel, and optical network. For example, LC connectors are typically used in fiber optic transceivers and patch panels to establish connection between devices like switches, routers, and servers in a data center. Their small size and reliable performance make them ideal for high density environments. So this is how the LC connectors look like. They are usually used in pairs. One is used as a transmitter and the second is used as a receiver, and they are usually plugged into an SFP, that is small form factor pluggable, which is then inserted into the port on the switch or on the server. LDAP, that is lightweight directory access protocol. So LDAP, a lightweight directory access protocol, is a protocol used to access and manage directory services over a network. It is commonly used for storing and retrieving information about resources such as users, groups, and devices in a network, often within a central directory server like Microsoft Active Directory or Open LDAP. For example, in an enterprise environment, LDAP can be used for authentication, allowing users to log into multiple systems with a single set of credentials by querying an LDAP directory to verify their identity. LDAPs, that is Lightweight Directory Access Protocol, or SSL. So this is a secure version of LDAP. LDAPs, that is Lightweight Directory Access Protocol Secure, is the secure version of LDAP that uses SSL/TLS to encrypt the communication between the LDAP client and the directory server. It ensures that sensitive data such as username and passwords is transmitted securely over the network by providing confidentiality as well as integrity. For example, when users logs into a company's internal system, LDAPs ensure that their credentials are securely transmitted from client to the directory server without being intercepted or tampered with by encrypting the LDAP traffic using SSL or TLS. The standard port for the LDAP is 636 as opposed to the non-secure LDAP, which typically uses port 389. LLDP, that is link layer discovery protocol. So remember a while ago we studied the CDP, that is Cisco Discovery Protocol. So this is the, you can say, the open version that is used by all manufacturers of the CDP. So the LLDP or Link Layer Discovery Protocol is a vendor-neutral protocol used by network devices such as switches, routers, and computers to advertise their identity, capability, and neighbors on a local network. LLDP helps devices discover information about directly connected devices, which can be useful for network management and troubleshooting. For example, a switch can use LLDP to send information about its name, port, and capabilities such as VLAN information to a connected device like another switch or a router. This helps network administrators map out the network topology more effectively. MAC, that is Media Access Control. So MAC Media Access Control refers to the unique hardware address assigned to the network interface card, that is NIC of a device. It operates at the data link layer, that is layer 2 of the OSI model, and is used to identify devices within a local network. For example, a laptop's MAC address, such as this one, is used by a Wi-Fi router to allow or deny access to the network based on MAC address filtering. MDF, that is main distribution frame. The MDF or main distribution frame is a centralized point in a telecommunication or network environment where external lines such as telephone or internet connections connect to the internal line within a building or facility. It serves as the main hub for routing and distributing signals to various devices or endpoints. Example, in an office building, the MDF connects incoming telephone lines from the service provider to the individual extensions used by the employee, enabling internal and external communication. MDIX, that is medium dependent interface crossover. MDIX, medium dependent interface crossover, is an Ethernet port configuration that automatically adjusts the wiring of the transmit and receive signals to accommodate either straight through or crossover cables. This feature eliminates the need for manual cable selection to establish a connection between devices. So traditionally, we used to use two types of cable, that is straight through and crossover. When similar devices were connected, for example, switch to switch, we used to use one type of cable, and when switch was connected to a client, for example, your laptop or PC, then a different type of cable was used. So nowadays, the interface cards are intelligent enough based on the MIDX that you can use any cable, whether it is straight through or crossover or any type of connection. For example, when connecting two switches, an MDIX enabled port automatically detects the type of cable, either straight through or crossover, and adjusts the signal flow, ensuring proper communication without requiring a specific cable type. MFA, that is multi-factor authentication. So MFA, multi-factor authentication, is a security process that requires user to provide two or more verification factors to gain access to a system, application, or account. It enhances security by combining different types of credentials, such as something the user knows, that is the password, something the user has, for example, a smartphone, or something the user is, for example, the biometric data. A common MFA setup includes a password, that is something you know, and a one-time code sent to your phone, that is something you have. MIB, that is Management Information Base. So MIB or MIB, Management Information Base, is a database used for managing the entities in a network, often in conjunction with Simple Network Management Protocol, that is SNMP. It contains organized information about network devices such as routers, switches, and servers, enabling administrators to monitor and control their operations. For example, a network administrator uses SNMP to query the MIB of a router to retrieve data such as interface status, bandwidth usage, or error counts for troubleshooting and performance monitoring. MMS, that is Multimedia Message Service. So MMS, Multimedia Message Service, is a message service that allows users to send multimedia content such as pictures, videos, audio, and text between mobile devices. It is an extension of SMS, that is short message service, which is limited to text only. For example, MMS is commonly used to send a photo or video to a friend directly from a smartphone along with a text message. MPO, that is multi-fiber push-on. So MPO, multi-fiber push-on, is a type of fiber optic connector designed to terminate multiple optical fibers in a single connector, typically used in high-density data center applications. MPO connectors are commonly utilized in networks requiring high-speed data transfer, for example, 40G or 100G Ethernet. For example, MPO connectors are used in backbone cabling within data center, where a single MPO connector can connect 12 or 14 fibers, significantly reducing the cable bulk and simplifying installation compared to traditional single fiber connectors like LC or SC. So this is what we are talking about. So this is the MPO connector. It basically helps terminate multiple fiber connectors into a single connector, and this is used for high rate ports. For example, if we have 40G or 100G ports, we can use this one connector, and on the other side we can connect it to multiple devices through multiple fibers. MTBF, that is mean time between failures. So MTBF, mean time between failures, is a metric used to measure the average time between system failures or component breakdowns in a machine or system. It is commonly used in reliability engineering to assess the expected operational lifespan of equipment or systems. For example, if a hard drive has an MTBF of this hours, it means that on average the drive is expected to operate for this much hours before it fails. MTTR, that is mean time to recover. So MTTR, mean time to recover, is a metric used to measure the average time it takes to repair a system or component after a failure occurs. It helps assess the efficiency of maintenance and the speed at which system can be restored to operational status. For example, if a server experiences a failure and the MTTR is 4 hours, it means on average the server takes 4 hours to be repaired and returned to full functionality. MTU, that is maximum transmission unit. So MTU, maximum transmission unit, is the largest size of a data packet that can be transmitted over a network or communication protocol without being fragmented. It is crucial for determining the efficiency and the speed of data transfer in a network. For example, in Ethernet network, the standard MTU is 1500 bytes, meaning that packets larger than 1500 bytes are broken into smaller fragments per transmission. MX Mail Exchange. MX Mail Exchange is a type of DNS, domain name system record, that specifies the mail server responsible for receiving email messages on behalf of a domain. These records include a priority value to determine the order of preference when multiple mail servers are available. For example, for the domain example.com, an MX record might point to mail.example.com as the primary mail server. When someone sends an email to user@example.com, the sending server looks up the MX record for example.com to find the correct mail server to deliver the message. NAC, that is Network Access Control. So NAC or Network Access Control is a security solution that manages and enforces policies for devices trying to connect to a network. It ensures that only authorized devices with the proper security configurations like updated antivirus software or security patches are allowed to access the network. For example, NAC can be used to prevent an employee's laptop from accessing the corporate network if it does not have the latest security updates or antivirus protection. NAS, that is Network Attached Storage. So NAS or Network Attached Storage is a file storage device connected to a network that allows multiple users and clients devices to access data from a centralized location. It provides scalable storage and supports file sharing protocols like NFS, SMB, or AFP. For example, a small business uses an NAS device to store shared documents, backups, and media files. Employees can access these files from their laptops, desktop, or mobile devices or the company's network. So this is the NAS storage, and it is accessible to all the clients or server over the network through this switch. So remember, there is also another type of storage network, that is SAN, storage area network. So what is the difference between SAN and NAS, and which one is better? So the SAN is basically the better one, the faster one, and it uses main difference between them is the use of the protocol, such as the NAS uses NFS, SMB, or AFP, while the SAN uses FC cables and FC protocol to provide the storage, which is fast and uses dedicated rates, for example, 16G and 32G data rate, and it has dedicated FC switches. And another thing about the storage was the DAS that we already studied, which is direct attached storage, which is a storage that is not available over the network or through a switch, but rather directly attached to the server through the USB or through the SAS interface. So that's the difference between NAS, SAN, and DAS. NAT, that is Network Address Translation. So NAT or Network Address Translation is a technique used in networking to translate private IP address within a local network to a public IP address for communication over the internet. This is, remember, one use of the NAT. It helps conserve public IP addresses and improve security by hiding internal network details. For example, in a home network, multiple devices like smartphones, laptops share a single public IP address assigned by the Internet Service Provider or ISP through NAT. When a device sends data to the Internet, NAT ensures that the response is routed back to the correct device within the local network. NFV, that is Network Function Virtualization. So NFV or Network Function Virtualization is a technology that replaces traditional hardware-based network appliances like routers, firewalls, and load balancers with software-based solutions running on virtualized hardware. It increases network agility, scalability, and cost efficiency by leveraging virtualization techniques. For example, a service provider uses NFV to deploy a virtual firewall on a standard server instead of purchasing and configuring dedicated firewall hardware, allowing them to scale the firewall's capacity quickly to meet the changing traffic demands. NIC, that is Network Interface Cards. So NIC or Network Interface Cards is a hardware component either integrated into a device or as an add-on card that enables a device to connect to a network. It facilitates communication between the device and other devices on the network using wired or wireless connections. For example, a desktop computer with a built-in Ethernet NIC allows the computer to connect to a LAN via a network cable, enabling access to the internet or shared resources like printers and file servers. NS, that is name server. So NS or name server is a type of DNS domain name system record that specifies the authoritative servers responsible for managing and responding to queries about a particular domain. These servers store DNS zones files containing information about the domain resources such as A, MX, and CNAME records. For example, if the domain example.com has NS records pointing to ns1.examplehost.com and ns2examplehost.com, these servers handle all DNS queries for example.com, such as resolving its IP address or identifying its mail server. NTP, that is Network Time Protocol. NTP or Network Time Protocol is a protocol used to synchronize the clocks of computers and network devices over a data network. It ensures that all devices in a network maintain accurate time, which is critical for logging events, scheduling tasks, and coordinating activities across systems. For example, a company's server use NTP to synchronize their time with an external time source such as a GPS server, ensuring that all logs and timestamps across devices are consistent and accurate. NTS, that is Network Time Security. So NTS Network Time Security is a security extension to the Network Time Protocol designed to protect the time synchronization from potential attacks. It ensures the authenticity and integrity of time data, preventing man-in-the-middle attacks, time spoofing, and other vulnerabilities in the time synchronization process. For example, a financial institution implements NTS to secure its NTP communications, ensuring that the timestamps on transactions are accurate and resistant to tampering, which is crucial for maintaining compliance with regulatory requirements. OS operating system. So OS operating system is a system software that manages hardware and software resources on a computer or device, providing an interface for users and applications to interact with the hardware. It handles tasks such as process management, memory allocation, file system, and input output operation. Example, Microsoft Windows, Mac OS, Linux, and Android are examples of operating systems that enable users to run applications and perform tasks on their respective devices. OSPF, that is Open Shortest Path First. It is another dynamic routing protocol. So OSPF, Open Shortest Path First, is a link state routing protocol used to, so there are two types of dynamic routing protocol. One is link state and the other is I think vector state. I don't exactly remember. I will look it out and then explain it further in a separate video or in this video. So OSPF is a link state routing protocol used to find the best path for data transmission within an IP network. It is commonly used in large enterprise networks to determine the most efficient route for data packets based on the network's topology. Example, in a corporate network, OSPF helps routers dynamically exchange information about network paths so they can adapt to changes like new routers or link failures. OSI, that is Open System Interconnection. So OSI, Open Systems Interconnection, is a conceptual framework used to understand and standardize the function of a communication system across different networking devices. It divides network communication into 7 layers namely the physical data link, network, transport, session, presentation, and application. For example, when a user sends an email, the OSI model works together from formatting the email at the application layer to routing it across the internet, that is networking layer, and transmitting it as electrical signal at physical layer to the recipient's device. OT, that is operational technology. So OT operational technology refers to hardware and software systems used to monitor and control physical processes, devices, and infrastructure in industries like manufacturing, energy and transportation, and utilities. For example, OT includes systems like SCADA, that is supervisory control and data acquisition used in power plants to control and monitor operations, or PLC, that is programmable logic controller used to automate factory machinery. PaaS, that is platform as a service. So PaaS, platform as a service, is a cloud computing model. PaaS, platform as a service, is a cloud computing model that provides a platform allowing customers to develop, run, and manage applications without worrying about the underlying infrastructure. It includes tools for development, testing, and deployment. For example, PaaS providers like Google App Engine or Microsoft Azure allows developers to build applications and deploy them on the cloud without managing servers or underlying networking. PAT, that is port address translation. So PAT or port address translation is a type of network address translation that allows multiple devices on a local network to share a single public IP address by assigning different port numbers to each connection. It helps conserve public IP addresses and manage traffic efficiently. For example, a home router using PAT enables multiple devices, including laptops, smartphones, to browse the internet simultaneously while appearing as a single IP address to external websites. PBX, that is Private Branch Exchange. So PBX, Private Branch Exchange, is a private telephone network used within an organization to manage internal and external phone calls. It allows features like call routing, voicemail conferencing, and call transfer. For example, a company's PBX system connects employee phones and handles calls to customers without requiring a separate phone line for each desk. PCI DSS, that is Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. The PCI DSS, Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, is a set of security standards designed to ensure that all companies processing, storing, or transmitting credit card information maintain a secure environment. It helps protect cardholder data from theft or fraud. For example, a retail store must comply with PCI DSS by encrypting cardholder data and using firewall to secure their payment systems. PDU, that is Protocol Data Unit. So this is Protocol Data Unit. So PDU, Protocol Data Unit, is the unit of data transmitted over a network that includes both the payload, means actual data, and the header, which is the control information. The structure of a PDU varies depending on the layer of the OSI model in which it operates. For example, in the transport layer, a PDU is called a segment in TCP, while in data link layer, it is called a frame. While you can say that in the network layer or layer 3, it is called as packet. While overall the generic name for this is PDU. PoE or Power over Ethernet. So PoE Power over Ethernet is a technology that enables network cables to carry electrical power alongside data to devices such as IP cameras, wireless access points, and Wi-Fi phones. This eliminates the need for separate power cards, simplifying installation and reducing cost. For example, a security system uses PoE to power IP cameras and connect them to the network with a single Ethernet cable, allowing for easier placement of cameras without requiring nearby electrical outlets. So this is how it works. Let's suppose you have a camera over here. So this is the PoE device. You can plug the camera Ethernet cable over here and the next port to the switch, and also plug this device to the power. So this gives both data as well as power to the camera through this device. Nowadays, the switches also have PoE ports. So instead of using this device, you can directly connect the PoE port to the camera without needing this device or power. PSK, that is the pre-shared key. So PSK pre-shared key is a shared secret used for authentication in wireless networks or VPNs. It is a password or passphrase known to both the client and the server used to establish a secure connection. For example, a Wi-Fi network might use a PSK where the same password is entered on both the router and the device connecting to the network. PTP, that is Precision Time Protocol. So PTP, Precision Time Protocol, is a protocol used to synchronize clocks throughout a network with high precision, often in the sub-microsecond range. It is commonly used in applications requiring exact timekeeping, such as financial trading, telecommunications, and industrial automation. For example, a manufacturing facility uses PTP to ensure that robotic arms on an assembly line operate in perfect sync, minimizing errors and optimizing production efficiency. PTR, that is pointer. So pointer record is a type of DNS record used for reverse DNS lookups. It maps an IP address to its associated domain name, especially or essentially performing the reverse function of an A record. For example, a mail server with the IP address 192.0.2.1 has a pointer record pointing to the mail.example.com. When another server queries for the domain associated with 192.0.2.1, the pointer record provides mail.example.com, which is often used to verify the identity of the mail server. So the DNS A record basically provides IP address against the domain name, while the pointer record is opposite of that. It provides the domain name against the IP address. QoS, that is quality of service. So QoS, quality of service, refers to technologies and techniques used to manage the network traffic and ensure the reliable transmission of crucial data by prioritizing specific type of traffic. It helps maintain performance for high priority applications like video conferencing, voice over IP, or online gaming, even during network congestion. Since the video conferencing, voice over IP, and gaming are very latency sensitive, you need real-time network traffic. Therefore, you can prioritize these type of traffic through quality of service. For example, in a corporate network, quality of service is configured to prioritize wide traffic over file downloads, ensuring clearing and uninterrupted phone calls even when the network is heavily used. So this means that when network is congested or bandwidth is limited, you can prioritize then that the wide traffic gets the priority over the data traffic or over the file downloads. Since the bandwidth is limited And then you can, for example, to the audio, you can give the priority queue. Similarly, for video traffic, you can also conserve bandwidth and configure priorities. And for the other traffic, such as data transfer or email and web, you can configure them in the best effort without any particular priority. QSFP, that is Quad Small Form Factor Pluggable. So QSFP, Quad Small Form Factor Pluggable, is a compact, hard swappable transceiver used in networking to support high-speed data transmission. It accommodates 4 channels of data, making it suitable for applications such as 40G and 100G Ethernet or InfiniBand connections. For example, a data center uses QSFP transceivers in its switches to achieve 40 gigabit per second connection between servers, providing high bandwidth for applications like virtualization and cloud computing. For example, this is basically a QSFP connector. So this may be 40G, 40 gigabit per second, and these individuals are then 10 Gbps. So you can connect this to a 40G port on a switch, and on this server side or on another side, you can plug these 4 SFPs or 4 connectors to 10G ports. Radius, that is remote authentication dial-in user service. So Radius remote authentication dial-in user service is a protocol used for authentication, authorization, and accounting, that is AAA in the network access. It is commonly used to manage user access to internet services, VPNs, and wireless networks by verifying user credentials and ensuring proper access permission. For example, a Wi-Fi router might use Radius to authenticate users before granting access to the network, ensuring only authorized devices can connect. RDP, that is Remote Desktop Protocol. So RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol, is a proprietary protocol developed by Microsoft that allows users to connect to and control a remote computer over a network. It provides a graphical interface for you to interact with the desktop of the remote system. For example, a system administrator might use RDP to remotely manage a server accessing its desktop interface as if they were physically present at the machine. So you must have used when you write MSTSC inside the run, you are actually provoking the RDP protocol, and this protocol uses port 3389. RFID, that is radio frequency identifier. So RFID, radio frequency identification, is a technology that uses radio waves to identify and track objects, animals, or people with an RFID tag. These tags contain data that can be read by RFID readers without needing direct contact. For example, an RFID tag in a library book allows for automatic checkout and inventory management without the need for manual scanning of each item. RIP, that is Routing Information Protocol. So one was the link state routing protocol, and the second is distance vector that we were talking about. So IS was link state routing protocol, while the RIP or RIP routing information protocol is a distance vector routing protocol used in computer networks to determine the best path for data based on hop count. It is simple and widely used in small networks but has limitations such as maximum hop count of 15, which makes it unsuitable for large networks. For example, a small office network uses RIP to manage routing between routers, ensuring data packets take the shortest path with the least number of hops to reach their destination. ROI, or return on investment. So ROI, return on investment, is a financial metric used to evaluate the profitability or effectiveness of an investment. It is calculated by dividing the gain or loss from the investment by the initial cost of the investment, typically expressed as a percentage. For example, if a company invests $10,000 in a marketing campaign and generates $15,000 in revenue, the ROI is 50%, that is $5,000 profit against $10,000 investment. RJ, that is registered jack. So RJ, or registered jack, refers to a standardized physical network interface commonly used for telecommunication and data networking. RJ connectors are designed for specific purposes such as telephone lines uses RJ11 connector, and Ethernet connection or switches and devices such as laptop, computer uses RJ45 connector. For example, an Ethernet cable with an RJ45 connector is used to connect a computer to network switch, enabling wired internet access. So these are different type of RJ, or register jack connectors. This is the RJ45 and this is the RJ11 that we were talking about. RPO, or recovery point objective. So RPO, recovery point objective, is a metric used in disaster recovery and business continuity planning that defines the maximum acceptable amount of data loss measured in time. It indicates the point in time to which data must be restored after a disruption. For example, if a company has an RPO of 4 hours, it means that in the event of a disaster, the company can afford to lose no more than 4 hours of data. RSTP, that is Rapid Spanning Tree Protocol. So the RSTP, Rapid Spanning Tree Protocol, is an advanced version of the Spanning Tree Protocol, that is STP, that provides faster convergence of network topology changes. It reduces downtime by quickly recalculating the spanning tree to prevent loops in Ethernet network. For example, in a business network with multiple switches, RSTP ensures that if a link fails, the network quickly adjusts and restores connectivity within a few seconds, minimizing disruption to data flow. RTO, that is recovery time objective. The recovery time objective, or RTO, is a metric used in disaster recovery and business continuity planning that defines the maximum acceptable amount of time it should take to restore a system, service, or process after a disruption. It helps organizations set recovery priorities. For example, if a business has an RTO of 2 hours, it means the organization aims to restore critical system within 2 hours after a failure to minimize downtime and business impact. RX, that is receiver. So this explanation is for the RTP, real-time transport protocol. So RX simply stands for receiver, as we can see in this diagram. If you have two systems, then the RX of first system will be connected to the TX, that is the transmitter of the opposite system, so that when the system on one side transmits, it is received by the RX, or receiver of the second system. Similarly, as we talked about the LC connector that has two strands, you can also say that one is RX that receives data and the second is TX that transmits data. SaaS, that is software as a service. So SaaS, software as a service, is a cloud computing model where software is delivered over the internet and accessed via a web browser without needing installation on local devices. Users pay for it through subscription and benefit from automatic updates and scalability. Some example of SaaS are Gmail, Microsoft 365, and Salesforce are popular SaaS applications. SAML, that is Security Assertion Markup Language. So SAML, or Security Assertion Markup Language, is an open standard for exchanging authentication and authorization information between an identity provider and a service provider. It enables single sign-on, allowing users to log in once and access multiple applications securely. For example, logging into a company's HR portal using SAML SSO with your corporate credentials. SAN, that is Storage Area Network. So SAN, or Storage Area Network, is a specialized high-speed network that provides access to consolidated block-level data storage. It allows multiple servers to access storage devices as if they were directly attached, improving storage utilization, scalability, and performance. For example, in a large enterprise, a SAN can connect several servers to a centralized storage system, allowing them to share large amounts of data and ensure efficient data management and backup. So this is how SAN, or storage area networks, looks like. So we have, these may be the storage libraries or data disks, as well as it has two SAN controllers, and this is the storage switch, or also known as FC switch. And these are basically, so these are basically the controllers. This is the FC switch, and these are the storage devices or disks, also known as storage or tape libraries. And they all work over the FC protocol, and these connections are maybe 16G or 32G high-speed connections. SaaS, that is Secure Access Service Edge. So SaaS, Secure Access Service Edge, is a cyber security framework that combines networking and security functions like SD-WAN, firewall, and secure web gateway into a unified cloud service. It provides secure access to applications and data regardless of the user's location. For example, a company using SaaS can securely connect remote employees to cloud-based applications without relying on traditional VPNs. So another connector type, that is SC subscriber connector. So SC, or subscriber connector, is a type of, again, fiber optic connector known for its push-pull coupling mechanism, which makes it easy to insert and remove. It is commonly used in telecommunication and data networks for connecting fiber optic cables. For example, a fiber optic network in a data center uses SC connectors to link servers to switches, ensuring high-speed, reliable data transmission. So these two are very similar and related. This is LC Lucent connector, and this is SC subscriber connector, and there is very minute difference between them. This is a little bit narrow, and this is just like a square and more broad in width, but they are sometimes used hand in hand. On the one side, we use the SC connector to connect the optical fiber inside the ODF, or optical distribution frame, and on the other side we plug this LC connector into the network switch or network firewall. SCADA, that is supervisory control and data acquisition. So SCADA, supervisory control and data acquisition, is a system used to monitor and control industrial processes such as those in manufacturing, energy, and utilities. It collects real-time data from sensors and devices, allowing operators to control systems remotely and ensure everything is functioning properly. Example, SCADA systems are used to manage and monitor power grids, water treatment plants, and oil pipelines. SD-WAN, that is Software Defined Wide Area Network. So SD-WAN, or Software Defined Wide Area Network, is a technology that uses software to manage and optimize wide area network, that is WAN traffic, or a variety of connection types such as MPLS, broadband, and LTE. It allows businesses to reduce cost and improve performance by directing network based on application priority, real-time conditions, and security policies. For example, SD-WAN can route voice and data traffic over the best available path to ensure quality while sending less critical data over lower cost internet connections. SDN, that is software defined networking. So SDN or software defined networking is a network architecture that separates the control plane, that is network management, from the data plane, that is data forwarding. It allows network administrators to manage, configure, and optimize network resources dynamically and programmatically using software application instead of relying on traditional hardware configurations. For example, SDN enables a data center to quickly adapt to changing traffic loads by adjusting network paths and bandwidth allocation in real time, improving efficiency and flexibility. SFP, small form factor pluggable. So SFP or small form factor pluggable is a compact, hot swappable transceiver used in networking equipment like switches and routers. It supports various communication standards including Ethernet, fiber optic, and SONET, allowing for flexible, high-speed connections over different media types. For example, a network switch uses an SFP transceiver to provide gigabit Ethernet connectivity or a fiber optic cable, enabling high speed data transmission between the switch and the remote server. So, this is how the SFP looks like. It is used to host the fiber optic connector, and this connector we already talked about. This is the LC connector or Lucent connector. SFTP or Secured File Transfer Protocol. So SFTP, Secure File Transfer Protocol, is a network protocol used to securely transfer files over a secure connection, typically using SSH or secure shell. It provides encryption for both the data being transferred and the authentication process, making it safer than traditional FTP. For example, using SFTP, you can securely upload or download files to a remote server. So this is basically a secure way to upload or download files between a client and an SFTP server, and basically it establishes a secure encrypted tunnel between the client and the server, so that if someone intercepts the data is encrypted and it is secure. SIP or Session Initiation Protocol. So SIP, Session Initiation Protocol, is a signaling protocol used for initiating, maintaining, and terminating real-time communication sessions such as voice and video calls or IP network. It is widely used in VoIP, that is Voice over Internet Protocol, and multimedia communications. For example, a company uses SIP to enable employees to make voice and video calls via their IP phones or soft phones, allowing for cost-effective communication over the internet instead of traditional phone lines. SIEM, that is Security Information and Event Management. So SIEM or Security Information and Event Management is a security solution that combines real-time monitoring, event logging, and analysis to detect, investigate, and respond to security threats in a network. It collects and correlates data from various sources like firewalls, servers, and applications to identify suspicious activity and help with compliance reporting. For example, a SIEM system might alert the security team to unusual login attempts or unauthorized access to sensitive data, helping to prevent potential breaches. SLA, Service Level Agreement. SLA, Service Level Agreement, is a formal contract between a service provider and a customer that outlines the expected level of service, including performance metrics, response times, and responsibilities. It helps ensure that both parties agree on the quality and scope of the service to be provided. For example, an SLA between a cloud service provider and a business might specify a guaranteed uptime of 99.9% and a maximum response time of 4 hours per support request. So the SLA basically deals with the performance of the service that is made through this contract between the service provider and the customer. Slack, that is stateless address auto configuration. So Slack stateless address auto configuration is a method in IP version 6 networks that allows devices to automatically configure their own IP addresses without the need for a DHCP server. Devices use Slack to generate an address based on the network information provided by the local routers. For example, in an IP version 6 enabled home network, a computer automatically assigns itself an IP version 6 address when it connects to the router without requiring manual configuration or a DHCP server. SMB server message block. So SMB server message block is a network file sharing protocol that allows applications or users to read and write to files and request services from server programs on a network. It is commonly used for sharing files, printers, and serial ports over a network. For example, a company uses SMB to enable employees to access shared files on a central server, allowing multiple users to work collaboratively on the same documents from different computers within the network. SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, is a protocol used for sending and relaying email messages between servers. It is responsible for transferring emails from the sender's mail server to the recipient's mail server or between intermediate mail servers. For example, when you send an email from your client, SMTP is used to transmit that email to the recipient's email server when it is then delivered to the recipient's inbox. So remember, there are two or multiple protocols involved in the email exchange. SMTP is used for sending the email messages to the mail server, while the POP3 shown here, which uses port 110, it is used for retrieving the emails by the receiver from the mail server. So they both work hand in hand. And remember, the default port that is used by SMTP is 25, while the POP3 or post office protocol using port number 110. SMTPS, that is Simple Mail Transfer Protocol Secure. SMTPS, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol Secure, is an extension of SMTP that adds a layer of security by using SSL/TLS encryption to protect email transmission. It ensures that emails are securely sent over the internet, preventing eavesdropping and tampering. It means that SSL and TLS provides the confidentiality and integrity of email communication. For example, a company uses SMTPS to send sensitive business communications, ensuring that the emails are encrypted and secure as they travel between the email server and the recipient's server. So basically, the S here stands for that we are using the TLS for security of the email, and in this way the email communication is encrypted as well as it has the tampering integrity, or it has the integrity against tampering. SNMP, that is Simple Network Management Protocol. So SNMP, Simple Network Management Protocol, is a protocol used for monitoring and managing devices on a network such as routers, switches, servers, and printers. It allows network administrators to collect data from devices, configure settings, and receive alerts about network issues. For example, an IT administrator uses SNMP to monitor the performance of network routers, collecting data on bandwidth usage and receiving alerts if a device experiences high traffic or failure. So this is how the SNMP works. Basically, there is an SNMP manager, also known as you can say the network management solution. One of the popular SNMP manager, you can say that the one provider is the Orion or the SolarWind NMS. So this is the main solution that is installed on a central server, and then this server communicates with the devices that you want to monitor over SNMP protocol. That basically communicates with the agents on these routers, servers, and other devices. SNMP basically uses port number 161 and 162. SOA, that is Start of Authority. So SOA, Start of Authority, is a type of DNS domain name record that provides essential information about a domain, including the primary DNS server for the domain, the email address of the domain administrator, the domain's serial number, and various timing parameters for the zone. For example, a DNS SOA record for the domain example.com includes details such as the primary DNS server, for example, ns1.example.com, the email address of the administrator, for example, admin@example.com, and settings for caching and zone transfers. SQL, that is Structured Query Language. SQL, Structured Query Language, is a programming language used to manage and manipulate relational databases. It allows users to create, read, update, and delete data in a database, often referred to as CRUD operation. So C is for create, R is for read, U is for update, and D is for delete. For example, a simple SQL query to retrieve all records from a customer table would look like this. Select steric here means everything from, and this is the table name, that is the customers. SSE, that is Security Service Edge. So the SSE, Security Service Edge, is a cloud-based security model that combines network security functions like secure web gateways, cloud access security brokers, that is CASB, and zero trust network access, that is ZTNA, to provide comprehensive protection for users and data regardless of its location. It is a key component of a broader SaaS, that is Secure Access Service Edge architecture. For example, a company implements SSE to secure remote workers by applying consistent security policies for web access, data protection, and secure application usage, even when employees are accessing the network from outside the office. SSH, that is Secure Shell. So SSH Secure Shell is a cryptographic network protocol used to securely access and manage remote system or an unsecured network. It provides a secure channel for communication by encrypting the data and ensuring authentication between the client and server. For example, using SSH, an administrator can securely log into a remote server and execute commands for managing files. SSID, that is Service Set Identifier. So SSID service set identifier is the unique name assigned to a wireless network, allowing devices to identify and connect to it. It acts as an identifier for Wi-Fi networks, distinguishing them from other networks in the area. For example, when you search for available Wi-Fi networks on your smartphone, each network you see is identified by its SSID, such as home Wi-Fi or office network. So SSID are basically these network names that appears when you try to connect to a Wi-Fi network. So these are SSID that are used to identify a particular Wi-Fi network. SSL, that is secure socket layer. The SSL secure socket layer is a cryptographic protocol used to secure communication over a computer network, primarily the internet. It encrypts data exchange between a client, like a web browser, and a server, ensuring privacy and data integrity. SSL has been largely replaced by the TLS, that is transport layer security, but the term SSL is still commonly used. For example, when visiting a website with HTTPS in the URL, SSL TLS ensures that any data entered, such as password or credit card numbers, is securely encrypted during transmission. SSO, that is single sign-on. SSO single sign-on is an authentication process that allows user to access multiple applications or systems with a single set of login credentials. Once authenticated, users can seamlessly navigate between different services without needing to log in again. For example, a company uses SSO to enable employees to log in once and gain access to email, intranet, cloud storage, and other internal applications without re-entering their credentials for each service. So SSO is essentially a system where you use, or the user use, only one set of credentials, and then the user can use multiple set of applications without using separate credentials for each application. For example, your Gmail account is essentially an SSO because you can use it to use YouTube, the Gmail email system, Google Drive, as well as other services of Google using only one set of credential. ST, that is straight tip. So this is another fiber optic connector type. So ST straight tip is a type of fiber optic connector known for its bayonet style coupling mechanism, providing a secure connection. It was one of the earliest connector designs and is still used in certain networking and telecommunication applications, although it has been largely replaced by other types like SC, subscriber connector, or LC, solution connector, in modern installation. So we already studied the LC connector, SC connector, and now the ST, that is straight tip connector. A university network may use ST connector for linking fiber optic cables between network devices in older infrastructure, offering stable data transmission despite newer connector types being available. So remember, these LC and SC, these are the newer connector type that are actively used nowadays, while these were basically used initially when connecting the fiber optic devices through fiber optic connection. These are rarely used nowadays. STP, that is shielded twisted pair. So here we are talking about the STP, also stands for shielded twisted pair, but here we are talking about the STP that stands for spanning tree protocol. So STP spanning tree protocol is a network protocol using to prevent loops in Ethernet networks by ensuring there is only one active path between two networks or between two network devices. It dynamically blocks redundant paths and activates them only when needed to maintain network stability. For example, in an office network with multiple switches, STP ensures that if one link fails, another link will automatically be activated, preventing network disruption due to broadcast storms or redundant connection. For example, in this case, to reach switch 3, the switch 2 has two links. One is this one through switch 1 and the other is this one. So the STP does operate such that this link is disabled or this port is disabled so that there is only one path to reach switch 3 and this loop is prevented. If both the links are available, then the network will become unstable due to this loop. SVI, that is switch virtual interface. SVI switch virtual interface is a virtual interface on a layer 3 switch that allows the switch to perform routing function for a VLAN. It acts as the gateway for devices within that VLAN and is typically used to enable inter-VLAN routing. For example, on a network switch, an SVI is configured for VLAN 10 with an IP address, allowing devices in VLAN 10 to communicate with the devices in other VLANs through routing. So here we can see that we have this VLAN 10. So these devices are in VLAN 10, and on this switch we configure an SVI of this 10.0.0.1. So these devices can communicate to this IP address having this as its gateway. And let's suppose if there are other devices that are in different VLANs. So these servers are in different VLAN, but they have their own SVI in VLAN 20. These servers are in VLAN 20 and they have their own SVI of 10.0.1.1. So this way, these workstations can communicate with these servers, although they are in different VLANs through their respective SVIs. And this is known as inter-VLAN routing. We have different VLAN, but we can communicate between different VLANs through inter-VLAN routing, make possible by the SVIs, and this switch is basically a layer 3 switch. In theory, we always study that switch is a layer 2 device, but practically modern day switches are layer 3, means that they have the capability of this layer 3 routing. TechX Plus, that is Terminal Access Controller Access Control System. So what is TechX Plus? TechX Plus Terminal Access Controller Access Control System Plus is a protocol used for network device access control and authentication. It provides centralized authentication for users trying to access network devices like routers and switches, and offer encryption for the entire authentication process, improving security over earlier protocols like Radius. For example, in a network, TechX Plus can be used to authenticate network administrators before granting them access to configure routers and switches, ensuring that only authorized personnel can make changes. So let's see how does this works. So let's suppose we have a client over here. Let's suppose a client with a laptop, and this client wants to configure this router. So in order to access this router, the client must first authenticate. Let's suppose this is our TechX. plus server. So the client first authenticates with this at TechX server using username and passwords, and using these username and password, he or she can then manage and configure this router. TCP/IP, that is Transmission Control Protocol/Internet Protocol. So TCP/IP, Transmission Control Protocol, Internet Protocol, is a suite of communication protocols used to connect devices on a network such as Internet. TCP handles data transmission reliability by ensuring data packets are received in order, while IP is responsible for addressing and routing the packets to their destination. For example, when you access a website, your computer uses TCP/IP to break down your request into packets, send them over the network, and reassemble them correctly when they reach the destination. So this is basically the main suit that is behind all the communication over a network between your client, between the server, and between the network devices. TFTP, that is Trivial File Transfer Protocol. So TFTP, Trivial File Transfer Protocol, is a simple, lightweight protocol used for transferring files over a network. Unlike FTP, TFTP lacks authentication and encryption, making it faster but less secure. It is commonly used in environments where simplicity and speed are more important than security, such as transferring configuration files to network devices. For example, a network administrator uses TFTP to upload a router's configuration file to a network device during initialization, where security is not a primary concern. TTL, time to live. TTL, time to live, is a field in an IP packet that specifies the maximum number of hops or routers the packet can pass through before being discarded. It helps prevent packets from circulating indefinitely due to the routing errors and assists in efficient network traffic management. For example, in a network, a packet with a TTL of 64 can travel through up to 64 routers. If it does not reach its destination within that limit, it is discarded to avoid network congestion. So this is how it works. Let's suppose the host A wants to reach the host B, and there are multiple routers across the path, and let's suppose the TTL is set to 255. So each time the packet passes through a router, the TTL is reduced by 1. So when it passes through the first router, it is 254, then 253, then 252, and eventually it reaches the destination. So if due to any reason there is some error, or if there is some loop inside the network, let's suppose, so this packet will keep going through the router unless its TTL reaches to 0. So when the TTL finally reaches to 0, the packet is discarded and dropped. If the TTL was not set and if it was not used, then there would have been this indefinite loop, which would have been resulted in network congestion and other issues. TX, that is transmitter. So TX transmitter refers to the process of sending data from one device to another over a network or communication channel. It is commonly used to describe the act of data being transmitted from a sender, such as a computer, to a receiver, such as a server or another computer. For example, in a wireless network, the router transmits data packets to the connected devices, allowing them to access the internet. So remember, we already studied about these SFPs and these fiber optic cable that uses these LC connectors, and these connectors basically uses two strands. One is transmitter and the other is receiver. So the transmitter, that is TX, on one side basically connects to the RX on another side, and similarly the receiver of that same side connects to the transmitter on the other side. So this is how the communication works. UDP, that is user datagram protocol. So UDP, user datagram protocol, is a connectionless communication protocol in the transport layer of the OSI model. Unlike TCP, that is transmission control protocol, UDP does not guarantee delivery, order, or error checking, making it faster but less reliable. It is commonly used in applications where speed is crucial and minor data loss is acceptable. For example, streaming services like live video or voice or IP calls often use UDP because it allows for real-time transmission of data, even if some packets are lost along the way. So, TCP is the reliable connection-oriented protocol, while UDP is, you can say, unreliable and not connection-oriented protocol because it does not perform three-way handshake before sending the data, but it is used for real-time, low-latency data transmission such as VoIP, video streaming, and gaming, etc., so that data is sent fast and in real time, even if some packets are dropped. Let's suppose if there is a video conferencing, if some packets drop, the video quality will become low, but we will still be here to communicate. UPS, that is uninterrupted power supply or uninterruptible power supplies. UPS, uninterruptible power supply, is a device that provides backup power to connected equipment during power outages or voltage fluctuations. It helps prevent data loss and hardware damage by supplying power long enough to safely shut down system or switch to an alternative power source such as generators. Example, in a data center, UPS ensures that server remains operational during a power outage, giving IT staff time to activate backup generators or perform an orderly system shutdown. So remember, in a modern data center, UPS is part of the overall power systems. So there is power from the main utility, then there are multiple generators, but all these power source passes through the UPS so that the power is stabilized. And if there is power disruption, let's suppose from the main utility, which is the primary source, UPS takes over and it provides power backup, but UPS is mainly used for a limited time when there is some fluctuations, or if the power outage is for long duration, then the generators are started. For longer power backup, generators are used. URL, that is Uniform Resource Locator. So URL, Uniform Resource Locator, is the address used to access resources on the internet, specifying the location of a file or service. It typically consists of the protocol, for example, HTTP and HTTPS, the domain name, and the path to the specific resource. For example, the URL https://www.example.com contact direct a web browser to the contact page on the example.com website. So this whole thing is the URL, which consists of the protocol, in this case HTTP, domain name, in this case example.com, and the extension, which is the exact location of the file or service on this domain. USB, that is Universal Serial Bus. So USB or Universal Serial Bus is a standard for connecting and transferring data between computers and peripheral devices such as keyboards, mice, printers, and storage devices. It also provides power to devices through the same connection. Example, a user connects a USB flash drive to a computer to transfer files, with the USB cable providing both data transfer and power to the device. So this is the typical USB connector. This is USB 3.0, which is the latest standard and fast. This may be USB 2.0. This is USB type B. This is mini USB, whichever basically used on mobile devices. This is micro USB. It was also used on mobile devices. and the latest standard of the connector on mobile and other devices is basically the USB Type-C, and this less often used connector is USB Micro B. UTP, that is unshielded twisted pair. So UTP, unshielded twisted pair, is a type of electrical cable commonly used in networking and telecommunications. It consists of pairs of copper wires twisted together to reduce electromagnetic interference. UTP cables are often used for Ethernet connections. For example, a typical Ethernet cable such as Cat5e or Cat6 is a UTP cable used to connect computers to a network switch for data transmission. So these are UTP cables. The difference between the unshielded UTP cable or unshielded twisted pair cable and the shielded twisted pair cable is that there is an extra protection or sheet. This silver one we are talking about, in this case there is no silver sheet. So this is UTP, while here we can see that this extra shielding is available in STP or shielded twisted pair cables. UTM, that is Unified Threat Management. So UTM, Unified Threat Management, is an integrated security solution that combines multiple security features into a single device or platform. It typically includes firewalls, intrusion detection and prevention system, that is IDS, IPS, antivirus, content filtering, and VPN support, aiming to provide comprehensive protection against a variety of cyber threats. For example, a business might implement a UTM appliance to consolidate its security functions, allowing it to monitor and manage network traffic, block malware, and enforce security policies from one centralized interface. VIP or VIP, that is virtual IP. So VIP or virtual IP is an IP address that is not tied to a specific physical network interface, but instead represents a group of devices or a service that can be accessed from different endpoints. It is commonly used in load balancing, high availability, and failover configurations where multiple devices share a single virtual IP to ensure continuous service availability. For example, in a high availability setup, a virtual IP might be assigned to a cluster of web servers, allowing users to access the service via the VIP, while the load balancer distributes the traffic across the servers in the backend. So this is how it works. Let's suppose you have these physical servers. These are servers basically, and they have physical IP addresses. Let's suppose in this case .10, .11, and .12. And there are users that want to access these servers externally. So how we can do this so that the traffic is load balanced between these devices, as well as their physical IPs are not exposed to these external users or external clients. So how we can do that? We can configure a virtual IP or VIP. This is basically done through a load balancer. So the external traffic is intercepted or hit by this VIP, and here we can say that this is the load balancer. The load balancer then sends the traffic to the physical servers one by one through a protocol commonly known as round robin. So this gives us multiple advantages. First, the physical IP addresses of the servers are not exposed. Second, even if one of the servers goes down, the virtual IP is still available and the load balancer does not send the traffic to this offline server, and the traffic is distributed among the remaining active servers. So this also gives the benefit of availability as well as load balancer, as well as the privacy of internal IP addresses. Virtual LAN, that is virtual local area network, virtual LAN or VLAN. So VLAN or virtual local area network is a logical grouping of network devices within a physical LAN, which allows devices to communicate as if they are on the same network regardless of their actual physical location. VLANs are used to segment network traffic, improve security, and reduce broadcast domains. For example, a company may create separate VLANs for different departments, such as one for HR and another for IT, ensuring that each department's traffic is isolated and more secure, even though all devices are connected to the same physical switch. So this is very simple concept. We configure VLANs on switch and we configure multiple VLANs depending upon their functionality. So let's suppose if we have this HR department and it has these two PCs, we keep them in a separate VLAN. And let's suppose this is IT department, it has its own PCs, we keep them in a separate VLAN, for example, VLAN 20. So this gives us multiple advantages. First, the broadcast domain is reduced, which reduces the network congestion and improves the efficiency. And second, there is also security. These PC from IT department cannot access the PCs from the HR department. VLSM, that is variable length subnet masking. So VLSM, variable length subnet mask, is a technique used in IP networking to allocate different subnet masks to different subnets within a network. This allows for more efficient use of IP address space, as it enables subnets of varying sizes based on the number of required hosts. Example, in an organization, the VLSM method could be used to assign a smaller subnet mask, such as /30, to a subnet with only 2 devices for a point-to-point connection, and a larger subnet mask of /24 to a subnet with many devices, optimizing the use of available IP resources. So this is simply the distribution of the network based on the required host or user. So before the VLSM or variable sublength masking, there were fixed classes like class A, class B, class C. So for example, in class C, we have this 192.168/16. So this is a very huge network. Let's suppose we required only 100 IPs, and I think this has 65,535 IP addresses. So if you give a user that requires only 100 IP addresses this whole network, then this is a huge loss of IP, waste of IP resources. Through this VLSM, we can only give the user, let's suppose, this subnet mask, which contains 1 to 6 IP addresses, which is much more manageable and efficient usage of the IP addresses. WIPE, that is voice over IP. So WIPE, voice over IP protocol, is a technology that enables voice communication and multimedia session over the internet or other IP-based networks rather than through traditional telephone lines. It converts analog voice signals into digital data packets for transmission over the network. For example, using services like Skype or Zoom, users can make voice and video calls over the internet instead of relying on the traditional phone networks, reducing costs and enabling global communication. VPC, that is virtual private cloud. So VPC, virtual private cloud, is a virtualized network environment within a public cloud like AWS that allows users to create isolated and secure networks for their cloud resources. VPC enables the configuration of IP address ranges, subnets, route tables, and security settings, providing control over network resources while leveraging cloud infrastructure. For example, in AWS, a user can set up a VPC to host their web servers and databases in a secure, isolated network, ensuring that only authorized traffic can access these resources. VPN, virtual private network. VPN, virtual private network, is a technology that creates a secure, encrypted connection or a less secure network, such as the internet. It allows users to send and receive data as if their devices were directly connected to a private network, protecting their data from eavesdropping and providing privacy. For example, a remote employee uses a VPN to securely access their company's internal network and files while working from a coffee shop, ensuring that sensitive information is encrypted and protected from physical hackers. WAN wide area network. WAN wide area network is a telecommunication network that covers a large geographic area, often spanning cities, countries, or even continents. It connects multiple local area networks, that is LANs, and other types of network, enabling communication and data sharing over long distances. Example, the internet is the largest WAN, connecting millions of devices and networks globally, allowing businesses to access data centers, remote offices, and users across the world. WPA Wi-Fi protected access. So WPA Wi-Fi protected access is a security protocol used to secure wireless networks. It provides stronger data encryption and user authentication compared to the older WEP wired equivalent privacy protocol. WPA helps protect data transmitted over Wi-Fi by using advanced encryption methods like TKIP, that is Temporal Key Integrity Protocol, and AES Advanced Encryption Standard. For example, when connecting to a public Wi-Fi network, user may see the option to enter a WPA key to ensure that their connection is secure and their data is protected from unauthorized access. So WPA is the older standard. WPA2 and WPA3 are the latest and more secure alternatives. WPS Wi-Fi protected setup. So WPS Wi-Fi protected setup is a network security standard designed to simplify the process of connecting devices to a wireless network. It allows users to establish a secure connection between their router and Wi-Fi enabled devices by pressing a button on the router on entering a PIN, avoiding the need to manually input a complex Wi-Fi password. For example, when setting up a new router on a Wi-Fi network, a user can press the WPS button on both the router and the printer to automatically connect the printer to the network without typing in the Wi-Fi password. VXLAN, that is a virtual extensible LAN. So VXLAN, virtual extensible LAN, is a network virtualization technology that encapsulates Ethernet frames in UDP packets to create virtual networks or physical IP network. It enables the extension of layer 2 network across a layer 3 infrastructure, allowing for greater scalability and flexibility in multi-tenant data centers. For example, in a large data center, VXLAN can be used to create isolated virtual networks for different tenants or applications, even if they span across multiple physical servers or locations, improving network scalability and isolation. ZTA, that is Zero Trust Architecture. So ZTA, Zero Trust Architecture, is a security model that assumes no user or device inside or outside the network is trusted by default. It requires strict verification and continuous authentication for every access request, ensuring that users and devices have only the necessary access to resources, regardless of their location within or outside the corporate network. For example, in a ZTA, an employee accessing a company's cloud application would be required to authenticate their identity and device, even if they are already inside the company network, before gaining access to sensitive data or resources. So that's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and stay tuned for the next and upcoming video. I'm making a whole course on the Network Plus, and hopefully we'll upload it soon once it's ready. So please subscribe and stay tuned. Thank you and see you soon.